Hi all, this is Allmighty and welcome to this video. So today I decided to show you a game between Wesley and Garry Kasparov. I would say not a common thing to see these two players on this channel, essentially playing a game together. But yeah, I wanted to keep up. I wanted to keep up with the events unfolding last week. Why is that? Because essentially what I did on Wednesday, after an unexpected turn of events, I decided to go on an unforeseen vacation. So an unplanned vacation. And because of that, as you may have noticed, I didn't post any videos so for the second part of last week. On Sunday I came home, so I also didn't have time for a stream because I came home very late. But now I'm back in the game, and definitely this weekend I will try to have a stream. So looking forward to that as well. Also, in the meantime, when I was on the vacation, the Altibox Norwich tournament started, and I only managed to look into the results. And one thing that did happen that may have surprised some of you is that Wesley did win the Blitz part of the tournament. So at the moment, the classical tournament is played. So today it should be the 7th round played. But yeah, I wanted to first feature something, let's say, related to that Blitz tournament. So keeping on the point that some of you may, okay, yeah, could not see Wesley winning a Blitz tournament, I decided to go on and see how is actually Wesley with the Blitz tournaments. And this is one of the games that I stumbled upon. Him playing in an Ultimate Blitz challenge against Garry Kasparov. I guess it's Kasparov. Sorry for that. Yeah, and it's a tournament played every year in St. Louis. Features 4 players, and in 2016 we had Garry Kasparov, Wesley Hikaru Nakamura, and Fabiano Caruana. Wesley was second in that tournament, but he did play this very nice game against Garry Kasparov. So much Garry Kasparov in the first few minutes of this video. But okay, I guess the world champion and one of the best players deserves it. And let me just show you the game. Knight to f3 and g6. Okay, the main reason I wanted to show you this game is just to prove the point that Wesley indeed deserves the win in the 2018. He doesn't deserve it just because of this game, but he definitely is an awesome blitz player, and this is probably one of the best games to actually show it. So after knight to f3, we see g6, and this is something called a Zuckertod opening. It is named after one of the first famous chess players, and it isn't an opening that you usually see played among the top players in a classical time format. But as it often is, players do tend to play some obscure and not very popular opening lines in order to knock off their opponents of the preparations. So Kasparov tries to do that with g6 here. But Wesley plays e4, and he goes immediately into familiar waters, trying to transpose in one of the more popular opening lines. After bishop to g7, he plays d4, and after d6, he plays c4. And now, if he plays knight to c3, we will very probably see some kind of a King's Indian opening. But we have bishop to g4 now, pinning the knight, bishop to e2 unpinning, and now knight to c6, having another attacker on the d4 pawn. So if bishop captures, knight to d4 can simply capture and you lose a pawn. But we see knight from b to d2, defends it, because now knight can capture on f3, and we see e5, a very common motif in the King's Indian. d5 attacking the knight, and knight to e7. Now h3 attacking the bishop, and bishop to d7. So all of Kasparov pieces go back. And now Wesley wants to take advantage of that, and he plays c5. Would he play something like this in a classical time format? I'm really not sure, but here it seems like a very good move. For one thing, it is a blitz game, so if you can sacrifice a pawn for very good activity, you should definitely do so. And of course, if it's a best move in the position, you should also do it. Here, Kasparov decided to take the challenge. He played a capture on c5. Now knight to c4, double attack on the e5 pawn. You have to defend it, but the plan all along was d6, and Wesley plays it. Now you shouldn't capture, of course, because knight to d6 checks the king, king to f8, and after bishop to c4, black is in a lot of trouble having to deal with knight to f7 and moves such as these. So of course Kasparov didn't play it. He played knight to c8, which is indeed the best move. Bishop to e3, so not capturing on c7, but going for the other pawn. We see b6. It isn't the best of moves. Kasparov could have played. Okay, it's an okay move, so don't get me wrong, but Kasparov could have simplified the position with b5. Okay, at the start, b5 doesn't look like a simplification because yeah, it's essentially b5. But after something like pawn captures, queen captures, and knight goes on a3, having another attacker here, and knight to d6, black is essentially looking good. He has a pawn up. Okay, it is a pawn that he cannot keep because after rook to c1, c4, and going something like castle, you will play b3 and win the pawn back, but he can have a good game. But b6 is, let's say, a little bit more passive, but it still holds off. We see castles, so Wesley did finish his development while Kasparov still tries to finish his. And at this point he starts to get a little greedy. He plays bishop to c6. He could have gone on an exchange spree, capturing on d6 and playing queen to e7, but he plays bishop to c6 to attack the pawn and also at the same time add another attacker to the d6 pawn. So Wesley plays pawn captures on c7. You have to capture here because otherwise you would have to deal with the pawn on c7. So it isn't that good of an idea. Rook to d8 is now a threat. If you move the knight, then knight to d6 is a threat. Not all that good looking for black. So queen to c7, and we see b4. Now Wesley wants to open up the position even more in order to continue with the attack. Kasparov once again accepted this, and this was essentially the last mistake that he made. After this, Wesley just went for it. Rook to c1, put the rook on the file where the queen is, and it's also an open file. Knight from g to e7, and now a very important move, queen to b3, because it puts the queen on this diagonal. If you go castle, knight to e5, a discovered check, and once again bringing a lot of problems to Kasparov. h6, and some of you may think, okay, this move doesn't make sense because it doesn't maybe it doesn't bring to a whole lot to the defense of the black king at the moment. Maybe you should do something like develop some pieces or move the queen from the c file, but essentially if you place something that doesn't make sense like a6, Wesley has this knight sacrifice on e5, and after pawn captures you have knight to g5, and now these weak squares and queen coming through this diagonal is very problematic for black. So essentially this is the whole point behind the h6 move, stopping knight to g5 eventually. We have rook from f to d1 occupying the d file now, and b5 attacking the knight. But Wesley goes for it. Now all of his pieces are developed, and now he can sacrifice one. Knight captures on e5. Pawn captures and bishop captures on b5. The bishop is pinned because of the rook, and you have to essentially do something about it. I wanted to just mention one thing. You have to keep an eye on this king. He cannot go castle because of the queen on this diagonal. So this will be once again a very big problem for Kasparov going on. Rook to b8. So yeah, this bishop is essentially defended also by this knight, so the rook is attacking the bishop. Bishop to a4, keeping all the threats. Bishop cannot capture on a4 because queen to a4 comes with a check, and the queen is attacked, and also the queen cannot cover on d7 because the rook is attacking on d7. So queen to b7, moving out of the way, and now a very common tactical motif that a lot of you, so essentially for all beginners out there, you should definitely remember this. If you are in a position like this and that you have a chance to sacrifice the exchange just temporarily, you should definitely do it, because now knight has to capture, and this knight will have a lot of problems going out of this pen. Definitely also because of queen to e6 coming the next move and already attacking the knight once again. And essentially the only move that you can make now is the other knight is coming to e7, but already here Kasparov could have resigned because checkmate is following soon. You cannot play king to f8 because rook to d8 check, knight to d8, and queen to e8 checkmate. This is all forced. If you play, if you cover with the queen, then simple bishop to c6, and you will be once again checkmated really soon. So essentially this is the only move. But after this, bishop to c5 is the move that proceeds to the checkmate, let's say, because once again the same ideas apply. If you play something like bishop to f8, then knight to e5 is a threat, attacking these two squares. Yeah, black is just in checkmate. Here rook to c8 was played, bishop to e7, and in this position Kasparov resigned the game. What can he do? So if he captures with a queen, then queen to c8 check, king to f7, and bishop to b3. Very important move. King to f6 moves, queen to c6, queen has to cover, and now queen to e6, and this is checkmate. Essentially this is the longest, so the largest amount of moves that white needs to make to checkmate. Anything else essentially doesn't also make sense. Yeah, so this is pretty much it for this game. I wanted to show it to you because essentially this was 2 years ago. Okay, Wesley did end up being second in this tournament, in this Ultimate Blitz Challenge. What a nice name for a tournament. But after 2 years, of course, he improved on his game. And if he was such a good Blitz player 2 years ago, imagine what a Blitz player is he now. So definitely not a surprise for me that Wesley did win his tournament, and also that he did win a game against Magnus Carlsen in classical time format. Definitely a very good player. I'm always keeping an eye on his games because, as we can see, Wesley, when you give him some advantage in the opening, like Kasparov did here with this bishop to c6 and also capturing on b4, he definitely doesn't definitely doesn't let go of it, and he just proceeds to build up and essentially wins the game in the end. So yeah, that's enough from me rambling about Wesley. So I hope you enjoyed this video and this game. I would like to thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you next time.